Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 29 / chase race number 3 of season 5 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the GEICO 500 at Talladega Superspeedway as we're getting set for 29 laps of racing here at one of the biggest beasts in all of motorsports. Now, before we take a look at the starting lineup, as usual, we got to take a look at the chase standings. So after last week at Kentucky, Jake Rogers has the points lead now by 11 points over Paul Minnick, 30 over Chris Dollerton, 38 over both Carson Gum and Benjamin Miles, 50 over both Dylan Jacobs and James McLeod, 55 over Joshua Collard, 61 over Alex Drayton, and then 66 over Kyle Matthews. So still plenty of time for drivers to make something happen for this championship. But let's take a look and see where all the chasers are starting in this race. But the last row will be Emmanuel Hartnett, Dylan Poteet. But as far as chasers, Joshua Collard starting 33rd. Benjamin Miles 22nd, Alex Drayton 19th, Kyle Matthews 15th, and Chris Dollerton 11th. But the top 10, Jake Rogers, the points leader, is on the pole for today. Starting next to him is Matt McIntyre. Row 2, Paul Minnick, Cody Lamas and Paul Minnick. Row 3, Dylan Jacobs, James McLeod. Row 4, Ryan Butcher and Patrick Smith. And then row 5, Diego Yepes and Carson Gum. Save the lineup just in case, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the GEICO 500 at Talladega.
Drivers, start your engines!
All 40 drivers on the racetrack for their one pace lap around here. And I also forgot to mention with that front row of Rogers and McIntyre, they're teammates out of MWR. So interesting to see the qualifying results for that team. And also Patrick Smith is up there too. The only one missing up there is Colin Phillips. Let's see if we can find his car. Yeah, there he is around, I want to say 15th, I want to say, is where he's starting. So all 4 MWR cars starting in the top 15 in this race. But of course, prior to recording, I did a lot of testing to see if we can get away with great racing and minimal wrecks. And it's going to be unpredictable to see how things play out. Could we have a long green flag race, or is it going to be a caution fest? I'm not entirely sure. We just got to watch and find out. However, one thing is for certain, we could be in for an interesting start to this race because of the fact that they're double wide. We could see 4 wide going into turn 1 perhaps. And depending on how the drivers are racing each other, we might be able to get away without any consequence whenever they go 4 wide. After all, this track has plenty of room for 4 wide racing. It's just all a matter of driver respect and if they can stay off one another and not lean on each other while racing. But the pace car is pulled in the pit road, so we're getting close to getting this race underway. Next week we had the Vegas, which should be interesting. But since we're coming to the start-finish line, you know what time it is, people. It is time to boogity 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 go racing. close at the line, but it was Paul Minnick who led that lap, so that's a very valuable bonus point for him, considering he is a chase driver and he's looking to try and gain as much points as possible in order to potentially win this championship. And there they go, the big one has already happened. A lot of drivers in there. Ethan Hoffman was the first car I saw get sent around. Seth Cole with damage. It looks like the primary cars that I saw with major damage are Seth Hoffman, I think Charles Sanford on the driver's side, and Tim Fiegel with damage as well. Carson Gum, one of the chasers, was also involved. So luckily it wasn't a major big one where there was so much damage done to the cars. I think everybody can still continue, but I think a couple of those drivers are definitely going to be off the pace as a result. But Paul Minnick's still your race leader. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what brought the caution out for the first time today here at Talladega. Well, here's a look at what happened. So there you see it right there. Anthony McCurry comes up into Jonathan Zorleen and into Carson Gum, and that's what gets this whole thing to set off. As you can see, a lot of cars ended up spinning, like Zachary Fitzwater went for a slide, but didn't get damaged. Cullen Francis, however, did get a little bit of damage right there, and so too did Zorleen. Right there is where Seth Cole gets his damage, and Hoffman actually almost flipped over. And then there you see Trent Dunham getting damage in that incident as well with Fiegel. And luckily, quite a few drivers did such a good job of getting on the brakes or letting off the gas to not run over into each other. Guys like Jay Jefferson, Joshua Sekuli, Emmanuel Hardnett, Rafael Leduc all did a phenomenal job of not running into one another and keeping their cars clean. So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be off the pace when we get back to racing. And speaking of which, let's take you to the restart here at Talladega. Well, as a result of that first caution, we got 2 cars out of the race, and they include Seth Cole and Ethan Hoffman, so they're going to be among the bottom 5 that will not get points. And I kind of have suspicion considering the major damage those 2 cars sustained in that crash, but now that we got our big one out of the way, maybe we can finish off strong. But it's going to be interesting to see how the racing's going to turn out, since they're all going to restart single file this time. But Paul Minnick is your race leader. Second is his teammate and highest running rookie on the field, and that's Diego Yepes. Third, Cody Lamas. Fourth, Matt McIntyre. Fifth, Dylan Jacobs. Sixth is Colin Phillips. Seventh is Ryan Butcher. Eighth is Patrick Smith. Ninth, Chris Dollarton. 10th, James Shelley. 11th, Kyle Matthews. 12th, Dougie Shears. 13th, Dylan Young. 14th, James Qualls. 15th, Alex Drayton. 16th, Joshua Collard. 17th is James McLeod. 18th, Preston Plord. 19th, Jake Rogers. 20th, Benjamin Miles. 21st, Dylan Thoreau. 22nd is Jake Baskinger. 23rd, Colin Francis. 24th, Jessica Shelton. 25th is Tim Fiegel, who's probably going to be slow on the track and might hold up everyone behind him, which includes 26th, DJ Curtis. 27th, Sean Galligan. 28th, Emmanuel Hartnett. 29th, Rafael Leduc. 30th, Jay Jefferson. 31st, Joshua Sekuli. 32nd, Dylan Poteet. 33rd, Zachary Fitzwater. 34th, Charles Sanford. 35th, Trent Dunham. 36th is Jonathan Zorleen. 37th, Anthony McCurry. And 38th, Carson Gum. Down to 38 cars on the racetrack, and I got a feeling about 5 of them are going to be off the pace, like Fiegel, McCurry, Gum, maybe Zorleen. We'll see what happens, but we're back underway as the green flag waves, and it's going to be 23 to go here at the line. Still a long race to determine who's going to win and get the advantage in the championship. But yeah, like I said, this restart's important because of the fact that they were single file, so we'll see how bunched up these drivers can get. But let's see about Tim Fiegel and see if he's truly off the pace or if it's just minor damage. I'm not sure. We'll see. But it does seem like Fiegel may be up to speed a little bit. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if he can maintain himself despite that buckle on the front end. These drivers are going to have to try and work really, really hard to get bunched up so they can race up here at the front of the field, considering that restart was very important. Minnick, though, is under attack from his teammate, Diego Yepez, who I think led at the line, and he did just barely, though. Imagine if that was the finish. That would have been spectacular, but Diego Yepez leads a lap. First green flag, not counting the first lap, but the first lead change of the day. Meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs now the highest running chaser in the second spot, as Minnick is probably going to lose some more spots. Although he's trying to run the outside lane rather well, but I think we saw a little incident right there where the bottom lane, on occasion, depending on how fast they're going, for some reason they like to let off the gas, which I don't understand why that happens. But nonetheless, Minnick going to stay up here in third, as meanwhile Jacobs running right on the back bumper of Diego Yepez, and you got to wonder if Jacobs is going to make any attempt to try and take the lead, or is he going to get swarmed as Minnick is trying to go on the bottom to get around the 78, and the 78 went up high a little bit. Let's watch the speed of Minnick, and he actually did slow down a little bit, but not to the extent of Lamas earlier, so I don't know if it was just Lamas being faster or whatever that happened a little bit ago that caused him to slow down as much, but Yepez still leads. As I'm looking for the slower cars, and there's Carson Gum, who's the slowest, then Sanford, and then Zorline. I don't know, it's just like the pack's getting really spread out now as the racing's starting to pick up a little bit, as Jacobs actually losing some spots, as we're back to a top two Evernham Motorsports bunch, with this time Yepez in the lead and Minnick in second. Let's watch the speed of Kyle Matthews. Kyle Matthews trying to run the bottom underneath Cody Lamas with help from Dougie Shears. Now, Kyle Matthews is definitely one of those chasers looking for a great run today in order to get back up into proper contention, considering after today we only got 7 races left in the chase. But right now the top 2 are starting to pull away from everyone behind them, which is rather interesting, considering sometimes them 2 cars can get so close together and they can pull away from the pack depending on how the pack behind them starts racing each other. But now Minnick going to go for a move on the bottom of Yepez to take the lead back. And that opens the door for the rest of that lead pack to come back up here at the front to race. As it's going to be 3 wide for second, with Dollarton on the bottom getting a push from James Qualls, and Qualls is thinking about going to the middle to push Kyle Matthews, but staying on the bottom for now. But right now, Paul Minnick has been the guy who has led the most laps today, but Dollarton looking to try and break that up. Can he get a big enough run on the 9, or is it going to really cost him? He's trying to work the bottom, but he's got no drafting help right now. Closest driver to him is Cody Lamas, but he's a little bit of ways back. And Minnick is going to use that advantage to keep the lead, as Dollarton now has Qualls to his outside. And then it's 3 wide for fourth with Yepez on the bottom, Lamas in the middle, and Shears up top. And now it's 3 wide for second again, as Yepez is going to take that spot perhaps. And then 4 wide for fifth behind that, with Dylan Jacobs on the bottom. Or at least it was 4 wide. But right now, Paul Minnick, like I said, he has so far has led the most laps today, which is very important for him in the championship battle. But Yepez trying to take the lead back. It's just been an Evernham clinic up here at the front with Minnick and Yepez. Yepez, if he can get an extra shove, he could get to the lead. But he's just not able to get that drafting help as drivers keep racing behind him, which is helping for the 9 to keep the race lead, which is not what the drivers from second on back want. They need to get by him. And in order to do that, they need to work together and hope they can get a run on the bottom of the 9. But we might see some drastic changes up here at the front because they're going to catch Carson Gum very, very soon, and that could really shake up the course of the race depending on where the 19's going to go. As it looks like the main pack is from Minnick back to Galligan, which is about the top 23. So the top 23 up here is going to be the ones more likely to battle for the win if there's no pit stops. But yeah, they are rapidly catching the 19 of Carson Gum, and we'll see what lane he's going to block and who's going to come out on the winning edge. Right now, Minnick in the lead with Dollarton behind him, although Minnick is now getting held up by the 19, but now the 19's going to move down and block Dollarton. He's actually blocking both lanes right now, which actually is helping to make this pack a little bigger and maybe help for those, let me check. Yeah, it's starting to help bring in Dunham, Fiegel, Curtis, Hartnett, and even maybe Rogers back up here into the fray. So now the pack just got bigger as a result. As now Carson Gum holds up the outside lane. So at least now the pack has gotten bigger as a result of lap traffic. But Paul Minnick still hanging on the lead, and Minnick still in second, and then Dollarton, Jefferson, and Jacobs. You got two Furniture Row teammates up here in the top 5, Jacobs and Jefferson. Maybe they could work together in hopes of a miracle. But right now, Yepes trying so hard to get the lead back, and it looks like he's going to get it because he got that extra push from the 87 of Jefferson. So now Yepes back into the lead. And Minnick falls back to 3rd and could fall back to as low as 5th potentially. But now look at Jay Jefferson go on the bottom. Who's going to lead at the line? I think it's going to be Jefferson. And indeed he does by 1/100th of a second at the line. Dylan Jacobs trying to take 3rd away from Minnick in order to be the highest running chaser in the field. But yeah, actually now as a result of the slower car of Carson Gum, it's kind of spread out the front pack to where they're all still relatively close, but it's just a matter of trying to get in line together and catch up to the main pack. But Jay Jefferson hanging out up here at the front of the field as he's trying to go for his second win this season. He won at Watkins Glen a little while back in total dominating fashion. And his teammate Dylan Jacobs trying to get second to make it a 1-2 for Furniture Row Racing right now. As like I've said earlier, the field is sort of spread out now as a result of Carson Gum being in the way of the leaders. Jacobs still trying to work the bottom, but Yepes got that push from Minnick, and that's what's going to help keep Yepes up here at second for now. As now the front pack's starting to bunch up a little bit. And it's now 11 to go here at Talladega, and Jay Jefferson right now leads. And 3 wide now for 3rd. All 3 of those drivers are chasers. Dollarton, Jacobs, and Minnick. Meanwhile, Preston Blord trying to push Dollarton past the 78, while the 78's up high, getting a push from Paul Minnick. But let's see how the bottom lane's going to work around the 78. It looks like the 78, he's really, really fast. And he just came down and cleared the bottom lane. So yeah, 3 and 4, it seems like you want to be above the inside line in order to get a run. Meanwhile, in 1 and 2, you want to be on the bottom. So it's all about shifting what lane you want to run in order to gain an advantage. Meanwhile, Jefferson still leads Yepes. He's been pretty much top 2 all day long. And you got to wonder, because now up ahead is Charles Sanford, and you got to wonder if he's off the pace or if he's just lost the draft and just couldn't keep up because of the slower cars that were ahead of him at one point. I don't know, and you got to wonder when or if the leaders are going to catch the 03 and see if that will affect the racing up here at the front of the field. As like I said, the main pack, like the front pack, is really spread out as a result of the 19 being in the way. Meanwhile, Jay Jefferson still leading. But let's actually take a look and see where all the chasers currently run on the racetrack. Right now, Dylan Jacobs in 3rd, trying to take 2nd. Then let's take a look at Jake Rogers, last scored 28th. James McLeod last scored 23rd. Joshua Collard last scored 11th. Kyle Matthews last scored 22nd. Benjamin Miles last scored 35th. Not a good day for the 22. Carson Gum last scored 38th, who's a lap down now. Alex Drayton last scored 15th. Paul Mennick last scored 11th now. And I believe that's everybody in the chase. Oh yeah, Dollarton. And Dollarton's got to be close to the front. 4th. Meanwhile, they are catching the 03 of Charles Sanford. Now, we're going to see for sure if he's really off the pace or if it was just a matter of losing the draft. He blocks Jay Jefferson. And in fact, he's blocking everyone except for Preston Plord, who's going to go to the outside of Dollarton. That actually is going to help reel back in some of those guys that were in the top 10 that weren't close to the lead. And now, battle on for the lead again as Diego Yepes has got to run to the inside of Jefferson with help from Dylan Jacobs. But now Dougie Shears, Paul Mennick are getting held up by the 03. So now Jacobs helping Yepes get up to the front in hopes of perhaps he can cut down to the bottom underneath the 10 and get a huge push to get to the lead for himself. And he's going for it with help from fellow chaser Chris Dollarton. Yepes, though, hanging on strong on the outside. But it's still side by side for the lead between the 78 and the 10 as Dylan Jacobs trying to go for his 2nd win this season. I can't remember where he won earlier this season. I want to say it was at a road course. And while Dollarton tried to go for a run on the inside of the 78, couldn't quite make it work. And in fact, the 78 didn't even get to lead that lap, as Yepes is hanging on very, very strong on the outside. And oh man, you gotta wonder if they're going to catch Carson Gum again, and that could affect the outcome of this race. It's going to be interesting to see if they can catch him in time. Right now, Carson now entering the tri-oval while the leaders are about to exit turn 4, and Dylan Jacobs now has the lead all to himself. And when we get to the line, it's going to be 5 laps to go here at Talladega. Right now, it's Furniture Row Racing 1-2, Jacobs and Jefferson, although Jacobs leaving the bottom open for Jefferson to go by. Jay Jefferson with a huge run for the lead with help from Dollarton. But yeah, I think they're going to catch... I think they are going to catch Carson here before the end of the race, and then that will really affect who's going to win and who's not going to win. Meanwhile, Dollarton trying to get 2nd away from the 78 of Jacobs, and he's going to get the spot. As now it seems like the bottom lane's starting to kick in 3 and 4 now, or it was just a matter of who was behind you. But right now, Jay Jefferson back up here at the front. But yeah, they are going to catch Carson Gum, and it's less than 4 to go now Is Carson going to hold up Jefferson, or is Jefferson going to be able to go right on by? Let's see what's going to happen here. Jefferson's held up now, but now so too will Yepez, as now things have bunched back up here at the front again. Carson Gum's going to hold up the bottom lane. But the outside's not able to really get a big run just yet. Now they're going to get it as Jefferson clears everyone again. That might have just sealed the deal as far as who is winning this race as a result. And Carson Gum's still holding up Dylan Jacobs, and the 78's definitely not going to be happy about that, considering he was in contention for the win, and now he may fall out of the top 10 now as a result, and that's not good. And that is not good for him as far as the point situation. But you also got to wonder if maybe they're going to catch these two, Benjamin Miles and Cullen Francis, before the end of the race. I don't know. It'll be very close if they can catch them. But right now, Jefferson's still leading the way. And I think he's pretty much got this win in the bag, unless somehow everyone behind him can work together and get to the back bumper of the 87, make something work. Although pit stops, I almost forgot that maybe these guys don't have enough gas. I completely forgot about that, and quite a bunch of drivers are just now coming in the pit road or coming out of pit road. That's another factor I forgot about, and you got to wonder if the 61 of McCrory's coming back up in front of the leaders. I don't know. He's thinking about it. He did kind of hold up the 87 a little bit right there, as all these drivers up ahead of them are trying to get back up to speed. Dylan Young coming in the pit road. Man, it's going to be very close to see who's going to be able to make it on gas as we're coming to the white flag. Looks like more likely it's going to come down to Jefferson or Dollarton. Jay Jefferson, all he's got to do is hold off to 12 and he's good to go, but they got lap traffic ahead. But I don't think it's going to really be a factor now, because all those drivers up ahead are up to speed except for the 22 and the 41. I don't know. It's going to be close. Dollarton, I think he just ran out of fuel. Dollarton just ran out of fuel. Everyone's going to be close, and I think Jefferson's running out. Jay Jefferson has run out of gas, but he's going to coast it across the line, checkered flag waving. Jay Jefferson wins the GEICO 500 at Talladega as he ran out of fuel coming through the tri-oval, but managed to get behind some cars, keep up to speed, and still win it all. Very strange happenings here at Talladega as drivers started running out of gas on the final lap. Really shook up the field as a result, but Jefferson managed to keep going, get across the line, and still win this race, and that was his second win of the season. But let's look at the rest of the results. Diego Yepez was pretty much stuck in that top two virtually all day long, but still the highest finishing rookie gets a second place run. Matt McIntyre with a phenomenal finish in third. Dougie Shears, strong run in fourth, and then Jake Baskinger with a great run in the fifth position. Chris Dollarton, even though he ran out of gas on the last lap, he still got a top 10 finish in the sixth position, and he was the highest finishing chaser in the race. Then Paul Minnick finishing in seventh. Dylan Jacobs came through with an eighth place run. Trent Dunham came back from being in the back of the field and gets a top 10 run in ninth. And then Colin Phillips rounding out the top 10. Then there's the rest of your top 20, top 30, and then the rest of the field. And Patrick Smith actually ran out of gas and could not finish. And the bottom five for this week were Charles Sanford, Dylan Poteet, Carson Gum, Seth Cole, and Ethan Hoffman. So that does it for our coverage today here at Talladega. Next time it's going to be Las Vegas for the Caesars Palace 400. But until then, here are your results, rookie points, and regular points heading into Las Vegas. And this is Levi McIntyre signing off.